صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. It's part and parcel of human nature to dislike oppression. It's logical that if someone harms you or harms those around you, you'll have animosity towards them, or you will in general dislike them. And when humans dislike an oppressor or an oppressive system, what usually tends to happen is that they will all gather and try to overthrow that system or that oppressor. Why? Because everyone acknowledges and everyone appreciates the fact that this person is a bad influence to society or a bad influence to you or to those around you. So when there is this bad and negative influence, what happens is everyone comes together and tries to overthrow it. Look what happened a few years ago in Egypt. Everyone thought Hosni Mubarak was an oppressor. They thought his system was oppressive. So what did they do? They all came together in 2011, I believe it was, and they overthrew him. And what also happened in Libya, for example, they all thought Muammar al-Gaddafi was an oppressor. What did they come? They came and they overthrew him, and they ended up killing him as well. Well, I'm not trying to look at these events from a political angle. All I'm trying to give is just a few examples of when times in history when people acknowledge the fact that there's an oppressor and come and try and overthrow him. But what really saddens me personally is that you've got our own people, jama'atna these days, as we say. Whenever there's a riot or there's a rally or there's something to sign a petition, everyone's completely up for it. If there's something they don't like, everyone's coming together, they're going to sign a petition. You know this petition you get sent on WhatsApp, everyone signs it and sends it. They don't like this, they don't like that. They don't like this person, they'll go riot, they'll go rally, they'll go outside with these stand things and give signs and messages and hada and this and that. But when Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam was oppressed, actually no one speaks out. When Fatima al-Zahra, when you mention, okay, you're standing up for all these, against all these oppressions, what happened to the oppression of Fatima al-Zahra? How come when it comes down to Fatima al-Zahra, everyone becomes silent and no one speaks out like they do for other things? Fatima al-Zahra is more important to you than your own mother. Fatima al-Zahra is someone who her importance, as on words can't describe it. She was oppressed. When she's oppressed, no one says anything. When she's oppressed, no one rallies, no one goes to each other and tells, do you know what happened? No one stands up for her, right? How come? How come in today's world, when we see someone bad, we stand up to him, but when we see Fatima al-Zahra, nothing happens? From what I think it is, in my opinion, it's down to two reasons. Number one, either ignorance. So you don't know about the oppression that happened to Fatima al-Zahra. Maybe most people are unaware of how Fedek was taken away from her. Inshallah, tonight I'll be trying to discuss some of the topics and chain of events that happened with Fedek and the sermon from Fatima al-Zahra and the lessons that we can learn. So it's either ignorance, people don't know what happened, or it's because they think, oh, this topic includes Sahaba, sorry, we can't speak about it. Or this topic includes so-called caliphs who are in fact criminals, but no, we can't speak about it because it's a sensitive topic. Why can't you speak about it? If someone comes today and oppresses your mother, are you going to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to speak about it because someone else might not like it? No, of course you won't. This person's your mother, you're going to stand up to it. So like I said, inshallah, tonight, I'll be briefly going over the events of Fedek, the sermon of Fatima al-Zahra, and what some of the lessons that we can take away from it. But before we do all that, نوروا أفواهكم بالصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. So, Fedek was a piece of land that Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had taken or had won over from the Jews. And out of his love for Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, he handed her over that piece of land as a gift to Fatima al-Zahra. So naturally, this place is something to grow. This place is a place that's very fertile, and it was used for growing and for crops and for things like this. So Fatima al-Zahra had her own workers and her own staff members who were working at this place called Fedek. And when they were working there, they were harvesting and they were growing their crops and doing everything. But Abu Bakr just decides that after the Prophet dies, that no, I want this place. Actually, when the Prophet was alive, he didn't do anything, but when the Prophet died, you know what, now I want to take over this place. So what he does is that he literally sends over his own staff members, he sends over his own workers, he sends over his own people, and they start growing their own things. They start taking all the profits, and eventually they ended up overthrowing all the staff members of Fatima al-Zahra. So this man, Caliph, went and came and sent his own workers. They took over the place, they started taking over the profits, and what he also has the audacity to go to the contract that was given to Fatima al-Zahra of ownership of this place and change it. Change it to who? Change it to himself. So now he officially thinks that he owns the place. I just want to let that sink in. Can you imagine Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam? the daughter of the Prophet. Rasulullah says, whoever angers Fatima has angered me, and whoever angers me has angered Allah. This person with such importance, this guy just goes and sends and takes over her whole land. And no one cares, no one speaks anything about it, no one says anything. This is the daughter of the Prophet, the one who walks covered by Imam Ali and angels on the Day of Judgment. This is Fatima al-Zahra, yet her land is usurped from her like it's something very small. So what happened after Fatima al-Zahra had heard that the land of Fadak was usurped from her? Look, Fatima al-Zahra is not a weak person. Fatima al-Zahra is someone who is a role model for more than the men than she is for the women. She is someone who stands up to any form of injustice. So Fatima al-Zahra covered herself with a veil and took some of the Hashemites and walked towards the majlis where Abu Bakr and the Sahaba were. And over there she delivered a sermon which shook the foundations of the whole place. One of the most powerful, one of the strongest sermons to ever be heard in Islamic history. You know, people wonder when Imam Zayn al-Abidin, when Sayyidah Zainab gives such sermons in the court of Yazid, people wonder where it comes from. Where does this eloquence, this power, all this knowledge comes from? It comes, of course, from their mother, Fatima al-Zahra. So she starts off the speech. This is very important. This is the first lesson we learn from the sermon of Fatima al-Zahra, and that is faith and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fatima al-Zahra starts off the speech by saying, all praise be to Allah, and she sets most of her sermon, if you actually look at it, the majority of her sermon is her just praising Allah. She says, praise be to Allah for His bounties, and she goes on to continuously thank Him with incredible eloquence. She thanks Allah for such plenteous and unlimited bounties whose numbers cannot be computed. Can you imagine us nowadays? We're not oppressed, we live in a good country, we're not that oppressed. Alright, we might be a minority, but one thing happens to us, what do? Straight away we turn, Allah, why me? Allah, why not him? Why not her? Why is it always happening to me? Why are all these bad things always happening to only me? Look at Fatima al-Zahra. Her land was taken away from her. The daughter of Rasulullah, her land is completely usurped from her. What does she do? Most of the sermon is spent just praising and thanking Allah. You know, people always narrate the story of Sayyidah Zainab after Imam Hussein Abu Abdullah was killed and after he was beheaded on the 10th of Muharram. People always narrate the story of how she went and put her hand under his body and says, Allahumma taqabbal minna hadha al-qurban. But nobody ever mentions that this closeness to Allah, that this love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where did it come from? Who raised her to have this passion for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who raised her to have this much faith in Him? It was her mother Fatima al-Zahra. Something else very important that we learn from his speech, and that is the importance of the Imam of your time. Right after she finishes continuously praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she goes on to praise Imam Ali alayhi salam. She mentions to everyone about how he was the bravest one out of all of them, about how he was the best in taqwa, about he was the best in salah, about how he was closest to the Prophet, about how when it was in the time of war and the war would get heated, most of them ran, and you know who I'm talking about, but a lot of them ran. But Imam Ali stood there strong and he was the only one to continuously fight alongside the Prophet. She reminded them of this, but she's also reminding us right now. You know, we've got this majlis, this qa'a, this hudur, all this latam, this na'i, these tears, everything. Do we remember the Imam of our time when we're doing the intention for these actions? Have we remembered that all of this, all this place and all these occasions, all we're trying to do is maybe just one chance that Imam Mehdi just has a look at us. Maybe one day he might even look at us as one of his soldiers. Look at Fatima al-Zahra. She's reminding us, number one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two is the Imam of the Prophet of your time. We do all these things every day, but none of us have any relationship with Imam Mehdi. And I speak for myself first. I speak for myself as a college student, as a 16-year-old. We have no connection with Imam al-Mahdi whatsoever. You know, this is something very personal, but my mother asked me the other day. She asked me, she goes like, I was telling her when it turned 2018, I was like, you know, this 2017 went really fast, you know, like it flew by. She goes like, yeah, it did. And how closer you were to your Imam than 2017? 2018 is now here, 2019 is going to come and your whole life's going to come. If you're never going to get closer to your Imam, then you will never progress. And that's the importance of your mother. And the third and possibly the most important thing that she teaches us from her sermon was that you have to stand up for your rights. You know, when we remember the masa'ib of Sayyidah Zainab, and the speakers, if you notice, they always mention that the fact that Sayyidah Zainab even went into the courtroom of Yazid was a calamity by itself. Have you heard that? before they narrate about how Yazid had cursed them and started playing with the teeth of Abu Abdullah, they always mention that the fact that Sayyidah Zainab even had to go in to the courtroom of Yazid was a masa'ib by itself. But the way I see it is that the fact that Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam had to go into a courtroom, it had to go into a masjid in front of Abu Bakr and the other so-called Sahaba and defend her own right is as shameful. Fatima al-Zahra, who in the Quran it says, لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا مودة لا أسألكم عليه أجرا إلا المودة في القربى. I don't ask you anything to except to take care of my close ones or my relatives. Fatima al-Zahra was the closest one to the Prophet by blood. So Rasulullah says, Fatima bad'atun minni. Fatima is a part of me. Fatima is a part, that means part of Rasulullah is Fatima al-Zahra. Fatima al-Zahra, who was called Fatima because Fatima Allah ذريتها وشيعتها وذريتها من النار. She was called Fatima because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made forbidden hellfire for her Shia. This same Fatima al-Zahra has to go into a masjid and defend her own right. This Fatima al-Zahra has to go in and stand in front of men and defend her own right. That's the state that the Islamic society reached after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's shameful and embarrassing. It's very shameful and very embarrassing of those people who were sitting in front of her and did not stand up to help her. These people who called themselves Sahaba. What kind of Sahaba are you? If the Prophet's daughter comes and gets her right, you suddenly don't stand up for her? What kind of Sahaba is that? What kind of Khulafa are these people? What kind of caliphs? I don't know who's given them that name, but how can a caliph go and take the right of the daughter of the Prophet? And what's even worse is that back then and still now the same thing happened. They're trying to make excuses to justify this. They're trying to say that no, it was something correct. It was something that was meant to be done. They were meant to take Fadak away from Fatima al-Zahra. So what's the main excuse that those people back then and some people unfortunately still use now, that they justify Fadak taking away from Fatima al-Zahra? That excuse was that the prophets don't give inheritance. You know, it baffles me. It confuses me, someone who hasn't studied, someone who doesn't know much. How is that even an excuse? The prophets don't give inheritance. Fatima al-Zahra knew that excuse back then, and she knew that people were going to use it still now. So what does she do? She sets it from back then. She destroys everyone that came up against her. What does she say? Firstly, before we even say what she says, Fadak was given to Fatima al-Zahra as a gift anyway. Fadak was given to Fatima al-Zahra as a gift, so that's already their thing as an invalid. And secondly, in the Quran, Fatima al-Zahra mentions many verses from the Quran where she proves that prophets do leave their own inheritance. In the Quran it says, Sulaiman inherited Dawood. And also in regards to Nabi Zakaria, he says, so grant me from yourself an heir who shall inherit from me and from the family of Yaqub. So that's it. She destroyed them back then and she's still destroying them right now. Look at these people. They tried to take away from Fatima al-Zahra. Look at this message that we have for Fatima al-Zahra. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And she even goes on further and she asks them, is my father discharged from the applicability of this verse? All these verses saying that the prophets do leave inheritance, is my father discharged? And even if they didn't, and Fatima al-Zahra still had it, how do they even have the audacity to stand up to someone of the stature of Fatima al-Zahra and try to justify her oppression? Like these people that make excuses for the khulafa that did end up taking away. I hope Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yahshurhum with them, and inshallah we will be Fatima al-Zahra. And just before I end, I want to finish off this talk by just one point, and something that slightly saddens me is that you see nowadays people around you, they're just not proud anymore. They're not proud that they're Shia. They're scared or they feel like it restricts them. Brothers and sisters, this is something very personal to me. Being Shia should be your pride and your joy. It should fill you with happiness. It should fill you with pride. Imagine you follow Imam Ali. Imam Ali who used to scare nations with one look. Imam Ali who was the walking, talking Quran. That's who you follow. You follow Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, someone who, although she was oppressed, although her rib was broken, made a stand that stood the whole of time. This is who you follow. You have to be proud of these people. You have to be proud of these individuals. And don't let anyone ever tell you not to talk about your religion or your history. Why? Because they want to suppress you. Why do they want to suppress you? Because they know that you follow people like Abbas. Abbas, who on the 10th of Muharram tore off his armor, tore off his shirt, and ran out onto the battlefield saying, Ana Majnoon Hussein. They know that you have this passion. They know that you have this love, so hold that pride very dearly to your heart. It's something we're all very blessed that we're from the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We're very blessed that we're on the right path, and it's something that we should always appreciate, and something that always we wish to improve. وآخر دعوانا أن لا إله إلا الله صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.